We are honored to have architect Kshiti Bhargava, senior architect at Arcmax Architects and Planners. She is an extraordinary architect with over 19 years of experience, where her versatility shines through in the design of space spanning hospitality, education, residential, and commercial sectors. Career marked by a commitment to sound and sustainable design, she goes beyond meeting clients' demand, ensuring that nature seamlessly integrates into her creations. Firm in her belief that a connection to nature enhances any design, she has established a reputation for crafting built forms that transcend mere functionality, becoming exemplary designs. Notably, she actively imparts her wealth of knowledge through online lectures across India at prestigious institutions like IIT Kharagpur. Shite will present a talk on sustainable construction principles and benefits. So let's welcome Shiti.
Now, very truly, may I say here that I will definitely not be talking upon how do we do it. I will primarily be talking about, because this is what I've been seeing with so many, specifically the student segment when I interact more, because I really love to interact with my experiences with the young blood. And I feel that it is definitely, they have an upper edge that they are growing with the technical upfront. Still, I say that as Ms. Anika said, that it is still not going to change the basics of architecture and the planning principles. Very right. And that is the point where we have slightly changed the skeleton. Why? Because what I feel is that since everything has come on technology, even planning now is AI based. You put a size and you can find the plan online. That is even now AI based. So everyone is just present there to judge you that what you have made is right or not, with all those petty information segments which are freely available on the net, and they will judge you so quickly that you may not be the right expertise to suggest them. Then there are other limitations which we have discussed, like it may be costly or it may be too cheap aesthetically. That is what is an ambience of sustainable architecture which has been portrayed, that if you are eco-friendly, you are slightly below the poverty line. I mean, don't mind the word, but that is the perspective of the client, that if I'm doing something sustainable, I may not be considered very high on the financial strata. If I'm using something which is quite glossy, which is finished with fancy materials, then I have really done a great job, and my architect has, put me into a very good social strata. But back to stage, we have to understand, I will focus on only 5 prime principles, and they are actually just the direct relativity to the basic benefits which they offer. Sequentially, this is the last principle commonly mentioned when we are talking of sustainable architecture, waste reduction and recycling, and which actually should be the first on the list, right? Where does it work? The beneficiary is the environment itself. Now, of course, to the fact, client is nowhere into this, because reducing this waste or recycling is not his or her cup of tea. And how is he bothered with it? Because neither the recycling or reduction is his part, and neither the environment is into his direct pocket. Because his area is completely the site which we deal per square feet or acres of land, which as architect, we have to put back to him with lots of ROI, right? Second is the resource efficiency. Again, this is split into two. We have to do our job. We have to define that, no, it is our responsibility that you please understand the resource, what is available. But his resource is a photograph or an awarded project, and something which he has seen somewhere, or maybe he feels it is nice. So it should be just done on my side, may it be it is working or not. But of course, this actually offers you quite a lot of job secure options as well, because the surrounding, which is your social surrounding, to which you have some responsibility, you have to answer that. Third is the design for longevity. And this is what we actually never work up. Even though everything which you place in the project, maybe a mobile cover which you may be having, you need to know that when does it expire, right? And we are actually supposed to take that as a very important and the core principle. How long are we designing it? Now, this length means two ways. The building footprint, which is going to stand, it should be really long. But the life after the building, when it may not stand, what happens when it has to be removed? So that is where I say that this pre-planning and post stage of the project all comes under the periphery of sustainable construction, and this happens to be the most important principle. Fourth, we rate is the energy efficiency, which is widely available. There are so many people in the industry, like gypsum as one of that. You may feel that as material, but I put that in the category of energy efficiency because it takes care of a lot of resources which are energized. Last, always desired is your water conservation techniques. Now, I say that these principles, they completely tie with each one of them with a very, very strong benefit, right? But before that, we have one most important principle, we ourselves, which are the prime skeleton of sustainable construction. And the most happening beneficiary is the client, which they don't realize. Our job is update them, educate them, and please ensure that we implement what we have learned, what we have studied, what people like you, what people in the industry who are the service providers, they do great job. They come to us, they educate us, they tell us about technologies, they tell us about materials. But I still feel the gap is that these people actually more than us should be approaching the client directly, who should know what we are providing is that really needed in the project. I'll put an example there. We are recently doing work for a hospital, and like when we were first updated with the content of tiles, which are completely radio resistant, right? When we heard that for the first time and then slowly stepped into using the content which is only being promoted right now currently from Surat in Gujarat, it was very difficult to convince the client that, of course, 1.5 times on the cost, but this is putting you to a lot of cost effectiveness hugely in an overall manner as compared to plaster to finish and to put up other content, thickening of walls, taking the planning procedures. It is just something which on your pH percentage is not allowed beyond 8%, and it is rather allowing you radiation till 3% only, which other common material is hardly able to resist till 20%. But the problem is that finally the client has to be convinced with the idea of using it, right? Beyond this, I would slightly elaborate very quickly, not taking much time. Each principle has a few very basic corners, which I think from IMK he also suggested that we have to be very minimal. We may not always be needing a lot of technological content, or not maybe from our part. There are MEP teams and HVAC teams and other people who definitely work up their triangle. We have to just put that at basic level. First is where we talked with waste reduction, right? What is the aim? That has to be clear. This principle talks clearly of one thing: just minimize the construction waste. And the stage is not actually on the site always, pre-construction and post-construction. We have to be responsible there. When you are digging to when you are concluding, please reduce this. Very simply, could be taken up by recycling and reusing the materials if you know it. Correct? The core example is, for example, if you are even using or digging up some concrete out of a place, we have very common areas to just recycle it again within the same campus, maybe as an underlayer for the pavers. Now, on small sites, this may not be possible, but at least when you're dealing campuses, we can have huge capacity of rearranging the entire content. Okay. The second principle is resource efficiency. Here, our target has to be completely optimize the resource. Most commonly, we pick it up the other way. How much will it cost if I use it? What we suggest is, as an environmental impact, we have lots of possibilities in huge content of materials which leave so less as carbon footprint. There are a lot of options in the industry now. We in our country rather have more possibilities because we have so much of things in local areas available. On area basis, you may talk on bamboos, you may talk on hempcretes, you may talk on mud, you may talk on fly ash, whatever may be the content, that is very much possible that you just pick up. Of course, if not in high rise, but at least the structures which are talking quite on the ground and we still have horizontal expansions. So please let us see that during construction, when we are phasing out, let us optimize what is first foremost the local resource available, right? The third principle is please let us extend the building lifespans. This use and throw technology, अभी लगाया 3 साल बाद change कर दिया या let us just wind it up with this one, लगेगा तो 5 साल बाद इसको change कर लेंगे. That is actually doing no good other than just putting a lot of construction scrap out of the site. We have to understand that while we are putting up a resource, please talk at length. What is the length of the entire content? If it is viable to use it for 15 years, we should be preferring it instead of putting on temporary arrangements and then saying that बाद में इसको change कर देंगे. This बाद में works up with that content, but there is a lot of scrap which is being produced both ways. Not only in physical manner, in the social habitat being disturbed and other pollution contents which are being elevated. The fourth one is integrating the technology, which I actually least educate the client because all the people, they do their job. We have to just talk on the basic ones. Enough light, maybe via atriums. There is one feature which again I would like to mention, Ms. Anika, as she said, the basic principles, what we used to talk in early medieval times, the badgis, the wind chimneys which took the air and floated within the building. It's just here where our job has to be concluded. And once we do that, there are a lot of people which aid with technology and capture our structure that we can apply it. Last is please save water. Of course, this is what everybody is saying. And there are very common techniques, rainwater with so many options to it. The only thing is how much of it is applied. The small projects or even the campus developments. Our part is please stick to the principle strongly that we have to do it.
Thank you, Kshiti, for sharing that exciting submission on sustainable construction principle and benefits.